Goodwill Zwelithini Kabhekuzulu was the reigning king of the Zulu nation. He became king on the death of his father, King Cyprian Bhekuzulu. In 1968, Prince Israel Mqwezeni acted as the regent from 1968 to 1971 while the king took refuge in The, then Transvaal province of South Africa for 3 years to avoid assassination. After his 21st birthday and his first marriage, Zwelithini was installed as the 8th monarch of the Zulus at a traditional ceremony at Nongoma on the 3rd of December 1971. Attended by 20,000 people, Zwelithini died on the 12th of March 2021, after reportedly being admitted to hospital for diabetes-related illness. During preparations for his funeral, the king's traditional prime minister, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, announced that he had died of COVID-19. In the power vacuum created in the 1990s as apartheid and the domination of the country by white South Africans was abolished, the king was sometimes unable to avoid being drawn into partisan politics. The Zulu-dominated Inkatha Freedom Party in opposition. However, once it became obvious that its efforts were not going to stop the election, the party was registered. It demonstrated its political strength by taking the majority of the provincial votes for KwaZulu-Natal in said election. Although the constitution makes the role of the king largely ceremonial, and it is incumbent upon him to act on the official advice of the provincial premier. On occasion, South African President Nelson Mandela made efforts to bypass the IFP in negotiating with the Zulus, instead making direct overtures to the king. Nonetheless, the IFP remained in power in the province until 2003. During most of the king's reign, his cousin, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, Prince of KwaZulu and founder, head of IFP, was the Zulu Prime Minister. But in September 1994, tension between the previously allied kinsmen peaked publicly as the annual Saka Zulu celebration approached. Rumors that the king was maneuvering to replace Buthelezi as Zulu Prime Minister with former regent Prince Mqwezeni, who had joined the UNC in 1990, seemed likely after the king announced that Buthelezi would no longer be his chief advisor, and simultaneously cancelled the holiday ceremony. For his safety, federal troops escorted Zwelithini by helicopter to Johannesburg, although Buthelezi was then serving as Home Affairs Minister in South Africa's cabinet. President Mandela's efforts to broker a reconciliation failed. Buthelezi moved the event from Nongoma to Stanger, and addressed a throng of 10,000 of his Zulu supporters. Subsequently, the king's spokesman, Prince Sifiso Zulu, was being interviewed on television at the South African Broadcasting Corporation studio when Buthelezi and his bodyguards forcibly interrupted the program, physically intimidating Chief Sifiso. The televised incident drew national attention and a public rebuke from Mandela, prompting Buthelezi to apologize to the Zulu royal family, cabinet and nation for his behavior. Relations between Zwelithini and Buthelezi later improved. King Zwelithini has cooperated as the law requires with the UNC since it took over the reins of government in KwaZulu-Natal. The king's finances are controlled by KwaZulu-Natal provincial authorities. In 1989, he criticized the UNC leadership for not inviting him and Buthelezi to a rally welcoming back the Rivonia trial defendants, who had been released after almost 3 decades of imprisonment. As the constitutional monarch of the Kingdom of KwaZulu-Natal, he was head of the Ubukhosi, the state-recognized institution of traditional leadership that consists of local chiefs. His leadership role also entailed chairmanship of the Usuthu Tribal Authority and Nongoma Regional Authority, both established under the provisions of the KwaZulu Amakhosi and Isifikanyeshwa Act. In his address upon the opening of the provincial parliament on the 28th of September 2003, the king advised the government and legislators to give more heed to the Ubukhosi. Traditional leaders are neither consulted nor involved in the process of formulating policies that have a direct bearing on their day-to-day activities. The institution of Ubukhosi has been in existence from time immemorial and has survived many hardships under past colonial regimes. From the point of view of the ordinary citizen, an Nkosi's most important role may lie in his symbolizing of community solidarity. So any notion that the institution of Ubukhosi, now that we have a democratic government in place, can just be wished away, remains a pipe dream. Some countries just across our borders had decided to do away with the institution of traditional leadership immediately after attaining independence from colonial rulers. However, they have since realized that they had committed gross mistakes and were now reinventing these institutions at great costs. As king of the Zulu nation, I am proud of the role played by the Prime Minister of the Zulu nation, Prince of Kwafindangene, Dr. M. G. Buthelezi.